Hey everybody, welcome back. I am the Gerbil. I hope you don't mind a little bit darker ambiance in the camera here. It's late and well, I don't want to turn on the overhead. Anyway, today's video is, as you probably read from the headlines, all about Leia and whether or not she should be your first GL. Or maybe if you only have a couple, should she be your next one? Like, should you drop what you're doing now to get Leia? I'm going to go through a bit of a very surprise announcement that came out today. You may already know some of this stuff, so I'm not going to go into detail a lot about the announcement. I'm going to point out a few really interesting tidbits, give you a little bit of the Gerbil's take on it. I'm going to share a little bit about obviously I'm going to show who the third round of requirements are, and then I want to talk about some farming and why Leia might be the best first pick for a GL for many accounts, especially younger accounts. So let's get to it, shall we? So we had we recently got our second set, which included Scout Trooper, R2, Captain Han, Rolo, and Chirpa. But today we got this really long post from the developers that felt like it was maybe not intentionally released yet, because we just got the second set. There wasn't even an announcement for that. They didn't even like say, hey, here they are. They just showed up in the game. That was only like 3 days ago. And then lo and behold, we get this, which spoils or shares the round 3, which is still not in the game either. So I just want to point out a few things. You guys are literate. I know you can read this. I'll let you do that on your own. I would also say that a lot of this feels like it's potentially subject to change, because a lot of this has some kind of ambiguous wording on stuff, and I'm going to point that out to you. So here's the first takeaway. Regarding Leia's kit and how that's going to play, it says that Leia is going to make both teams immune to cooldown manipulation. That immediately means that if you take it at face value, you cannot change the rate at which a character's cooldowns are dropping other than natural progression. So the turn 1 Jedi Master Kenobi resets Cat's insta-kill cooldown from, I think, 8 or whatever high number it is down to, ready to go 0. That's manipulation. You have altered its cooldowns. So Cat is not going to get an insta-kill against a Leia team, at least not as I'm reading this. So nope to General Kenobi. Of course, there are plenty other characters that reset cooldowns. Most recently, I discovered that Chopper, I forgot, every time he uses a basic, he has a high chance to lower somebody's cooldowns. Jabba the Hutt has some cooldown manipulation in there, I believe. There's a lot of characters that do, and Leia says no. Next thing to point out, this one, I'm not sure if we need to take this at face value. It says, the sentence is, it felt like the entire enemy team should be fractured. No, it doesn't say the entire enemy team will be or is fractured. They're actually making a reference based on an animation, and the wording in this paragraph suggests that the animations are made independent of the effects of the character, which explains why some of them are just like, that doesn't represent what I think is happening. So that's interesting, but it implies, obviously, that Leia is going to, her ultimate is going to fracture the entire enemy team, which is just, that's going to be so strong if true. Another big point on there, it's the last sentence of that paragraph. It says that during testing, empowering the right ally with Leia's abilities has led to some significant damage output, oftentimes eliminating an opponent in one blow. That sounds to me kind of like a Wat Tambor type thing, passing off maybe not a perma buff, but a substantial number of buffs or type of buff or certain one-time abilities to various members of your team so that they can do whatever it is that they do, but at an amplified level. So that sounds pretty cool. I like that. Moving on through this post here, we've got some notice that Leia naturally is going to show up everywhere going forward. Conquest is the only one that's interesting to me, that I don't think that, not Conquest, but Challenges, I don't think that we've needed Galactic Legends in challenges yet, but they're saying we will. And then a nice thing, as I talked about in previous video, I was concerned about how this may break up a CLS squad. They're saying they're actually going to try to keep Leia away from CLS. So they are not going to break up our CLS squads, which is awesome. And finally, this brings us to set 3 and brings us closer towards what I want to talk about really is should Leia be your first GL? Well, let's find out. Here we go. So the set 3 includes Drogan, which really annoys me that they didn't just pick a character that's actually in the game. If you watch Star Wars Daddy did a video recently about Lord of the Rings and his belief that that game from CG is already dying, and one of the biggest reasons is the lack of named characters from lore, that they're just making them up and throwing them in the game, and I worry that Drogan is the beginning of that. I would rather play with fan favorites from my childhood, not somebody randomly made up. I mean, there's no shortages of characters that could have been introduced to pair up with Leia, so I don't know what's going on with there, but whatever, moving on. CLS, super easy to achieve. SWGOH Leia, not an accelerated farm, but if you've got Jabba or been working on Jabba, you've probably got this one. Chewbacca, fantastic, amazing character. If you have a CLS team and now you have more cause to get CLS, then you should have Chewbacca at high relic anyway. And then Lobot, who I speculated on like a year ago and then almost forgot about it, it seems. Lobot is really interesting. Lobot has got a confirmed rework coming, and I think that presents a lot of opportunity. Now, just a couple of other real quick things that were announced today. Go read it yourself. A lot of stuff there. There's been some clarity on the Mark III currency from the guild raids. It is, of course, moving to the speeder bike raid, which got a formal name, Speeder Bike Pursuit. So when that happens, no more Mark IIIs, as everyone knows now in Crate. It's going to be in the new one. They are changing the 3-day cadence of the raid to a 6-day cadence, which I am like, thank you. That's a big win. And to make sure we don't lose any rewards, they say they're going to double the starting cost and rewards from the raid. So hopefully we only have to manage the raid once a week rather than every 3 days, which will be really, really nice. Also, they're not really committing, but they are saying they anticipate raids going forward, that there will be a new one every 8 to 9 months. I think that's good. Actually, I think that's really, really good and healthy for the game. Yes, it does mean that we gotta potentially gear up more characters, but not really, because I mean, if you think about it, you got 50 people in your guild, you got 50 of them. Everybody's got a slightly different roster, right? It just means that over time, you're probably gonna balance even. I would say that maybe that 90 million crate in the reward in the current crate raid is probably going to be pretty standard for most guilds going forward as everybody develops all the different factions and things. And of course, in time, it's going to cycle back because there's only so many different factions you can use for each raid. So it's going to cycle back, and we'll come back around to some of these, and it may be a year and a half or 2 years, but heck, this is a long-term commitment game, right? Anyway, let's get to the good stuff, right? So here's the relic requirements and all 15 characters now for Leia, and we can see that we need 3 relic 3s, 4 relic 5s, 6 relic 7s, and only 1 relic 8, which actually makes Leia by relic count very obtainable, much more so than, let's say, Lord Vader or Jabba the Hutt or Jedi Knight Luke. This is a way easier farm just on the relic numbers alone. As far as the characters themselves go, well, we do have 4 marquees. Only 2 of the 15 requirements are Journey Guide characters, and they're both characters that you really should be unlocking very, very early in the game anyway. R2 is super, super duper easy to unlock, as is CLS. I mean, like, really, it is an easy unlock. You can do it with Gear 8 and Gear 9, Old Ben, Farm Boy Luke, Stormtrooper Han. You don't need high gear, and you don't need any Chirotechs. You don't need any relics to unlock them. And they're the only Journey Guide characters. beyond that, the rest of these characters, the Ewoks, Ackbar, Lando, Rolo, of course. Actually, Rolo's a journey guide. I just realized that. She's from the raid, from Hoth raid, but she's accessible in a lot of different places in the game now. There's a lot of opportunity to secure Rolo shards, and it's quite easy with the raid currencies and the guild raid currencies. So I'm very, very happy with this on the whole. And there's no ships needed at all, which is just like, cool. I like that. I really, really thought Executor was going to be, because Executor was in Return of the Jedi. Executor blew up in Return of the Jedi. Ackbar watched it happen. So it didn't blow up. It crashed into the Death Star and then blew up. Yeah. So how do all these characters like work? Well, basically, if you go after Leia as a first GL, you are amazingly close to 3 really good teams on the get. And then, of course, if you get Leia, potentially 4. We don't know what's going to happen with Lobot. We don't know what's going to happen with Ackbar and R2. But CG was very explicit. They don't want to break up our CLS team. So by farming Leia, you're going to get CLS and you're going to get Chewbacca. By going for the Ewoks, you only need 2 more. I recommend Poplu and Logray. You are going to be able to unlock C3PO. Naturally, as you develop your roster, 100% guaranteed, you are going to stumble your way, if not focus your way, to Han Solo and Chewbacca. And that right there gives you 2 full squads already. Kneesaa makes the Ewoks very, very durable and a bit of a challenge, especially in territory wars on defense. CLS is a heavy hitter that's going to walk through most things. And then Sana Staros, if you go that route, is going to work really, really well with Captain Han, Rolo, and Lando. And then you only need either one or ideally both of the 2 tanks, one of which you've already geared up a bit to get CLS. Cara Dune, on the other hand, is the one that's going to stand out a bit, but she has you're going to probably come across her anyway. I'll explain why in a second. And then down below, you're going to get the Trooper. He's going to fit in a couple of different places. Rex makes Phoenix insanely good. So if you went for Phoenix early on to get Thrawn, you throw Rex in there, drop the Omicron on him, and man, do fun things happen. And then Bosch Leia doesn't do anything for you for this farm other than get you a little bit ready for GL Jabba. But you know what? This farm in general just screams, 100% screams Jedi Master Luke. It really does. If you are going for GL Leia Organa, you are setting yourself up for an easy, quick Jedi Master Luke farm after it. Why? By getting the Ewoks, you get C3PO eventually. C3PO is a requirement for Jedi Knight Luke, as is CLS, Captain Han, Rolo, and Lando Calrissian. That means you already have 5 characters for Jedi Knight Luke. And he's a bit of a pain to get, I'm not going to lie. You need like Wampa and stuff. But Wampa is also way more accessible than he used to be through the Guild of Raid Store. So if you are, again, a younger account, new account, looking at starting a new account or advising somebody or whatever, or maybe you just don't have many GLs or any, I encourage you to go Leia first. Because through this, you're going to get C-3PO, you're going to get a CLS team, you're going to get Jedi Knight Luke, which is going to take you right into Jedi Master Luke. Also because in Leia's requirements is Chewbacca and R2-D2, both requirements for Jedi Master Luke. Yeah, it's crazy. And then there's some other shenanigans here. You can read that on your own. Pause if you want. I'm not going to talk about it, but nah, whatever. Now, here we go. Here's the thing. And if you've really been watching my channels and paying attention for a while, then you know that I've been advocating Home 1 as your early game offensive arena and GAC offensive fleet. I've been saying forever, you should go bounty hunters to get Executrix. That's Tarkin's capital ship. That unlocks the Zeta events, so you get your Zetas every month. You put your bounty hunters with Executrix on defense and GAC. You use Home 1 as offense. And in arena for the crystals, you use Home 1 with Raven's Claw, Bist, and Biggs as your starting lineup. Hans Millennium Falcon as your first reinforcement, Cassian if you ever need it, and honestly, you really don't. I mean, those 5 right there, you've got your fleet, and you can dominate against Malevolence, Negotiator, Finalizer, Radis, Tarkin, Executrix, and Chimera. You can dominate fleet arena. And if you don't believe me, go look at some of my previous videos talking about it and read the comments of how many people have been like, oh my god, Gerbil, you're right, Raven's Claw is a game changer in the starting lineup. It bypasses taunts, it invalidates tanks, and you just annihilate everything that the tanks are protecting, like Kylo Ren and Kylo Ren's shuttle, like the Vulture droid and Geonosian spy. The Geos in Executrix have zero chance against a well farmed home one all the way through the game. I mean, like, just all the way through the game. Even my main account, which is about to hit 10 million GP, I use home one like religiously in GAC on offense, it seems. More and more I've been experimenting with other fleets, and I keep coming back to believing that home one is a better long-term offensive fleet. Anyway, I digress a bit. So, Leia, Chewbacca, CLS, Captain Han, Rolo, Lando, R2, Ackbar. 4 of those characters are direct requirements for Jedi Knight Luke. So if you go for a home one fleet, then your first GL you go for Leia, you're setting yourself up for Jedi Master Luke. Look how much this synergizes. As after you get that Leia, or as you are developing your rebel fleet, you will farm Mon Mothma and the Wiggs brothers, who I have advocated for a long time as a GAC defensive squad. All you need in there is you need obviously 2 more rebel fighters, but you'll get that through the U-Wings or through Kyle Katarn and the Raven's Claw. So you put in like Kyle Katarn, and then I'm losing the name, Biston, and you've got your early game 5 rebel fighters. Of course, I would suggest transitioning out the Wiggs brothers eventually down the line. You want to replace them with Cara Dune and the Hoth's Scout. All right, but nonetheless, you've got a lot of rebel fighters right off the get. Add that Omicron on Mon Mothma, place her on defense, and you will quickly jump up out of the lowest tiers of GAC from a new account. All right, next up, you're getting the full CLS faction. Obviously, you get both the Chewies, Han Solo, C-3PO, and CLS, and of course that means you've got the Hans Millennium Falcon, who you got from the bounty hunters when you farmed them to bolster Executrix to unlock his challenge event so that you get the weekly Zetas. All right. Next up, we're going to talk about Ackbar, who was obviously the leader of the Home One, or the Capital Pilot. In 3v3, you cannot ignore it. It happens every other GAC rotation. Like it or not, you have to pay attention to it if you want to grow your account and advance in Grand Arena. Ackbar with Leia is an amazing little duo in 3v3. Toss in R2-D2, and he helps trigger the Ackbar specials so that you're attacking out of turn. Leia's triple tapping, R2 is stunning on basic, and you can just decimate a lot of teams all the way up to late game. No, I am not talking Kyber 1 and 2. Please don't attribute any of this to the Kyber levels, but I'm talking like in the lower levels, up to mid-game, mid-late game. Eventually, you might cycle out R2-D2 and put in Fulcrum or Stormtrooper Han, because you've got him for Jedi Knight Luke. Fantastic squad. It bolsters your home one offensive fleet. And of course, as you get this CLS team, as you get your Ackbar team, as you get your Rebel fighters, as you've got GL Leia, you get Jedi Master Luke almost for free. Like, it is insane the way they've structured this. It is almost as if CG said, hey kid, come here. First GL's free, man. And then you get the second one almost by default. Maybe it's second GL free. I don't know. But the Leia farm is pretty easy. I am like super stoked about it from a game development position. Now, I want to make a whole nother video later talking about thematics of who's likely to be in there and my disappointment with Drogan. Sorry, see the name slip there, Drogan. Because I have some concerns, and we'll see when time will tell, because we don't know the kits, we don't know what they look like yet, so time will tell. But that's another story. For today, I think this is something to consider. I am not saying it is the best. I am not saying this is what you should do, but I am saying if you are looking for a first GL, you might really want to consider this, because it's going to bolster your arena, it's going to bolster your GAC, and it's going to give you a lot of very, very good early mid-game GAC teams, especially CLS, who will carry you all the way through Kyber 1. I mean, CLS is used everywhere, all the way up in Kyber 1. Anyway, if any of this was helpful, if you liked any of it, if you agree with any of it, give me that thumbs up and a like. I would really appreciate it. If you think I'm absolutely nuts and crazy, let me know in the comments. And before you hit that downvote, tell me why. It seems in every video I post, I get one downvote. I wonder why. Let me know, because that's how I can improve, right? Tell me what I can do better. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all on the Hold Tables. Bye-bye.